What's happening, guys? It's Bharat Nagpal for iGyaan.in, and today we're going to be unboxing and taking a look at the new Sony SLT A77V. It's a digital SLR camera, but it's not really an SLR. It's got a translucent mirror, so Sony calls it an SLT. That's why it's different. This camera comes in at a price of about 69,000 for just the body, and then you can buy any A mount lens for the camera, or if you already have an existing alpha camera, you can use any A mount lens that you might have with the body of the Alpha 77 or the A77 SLT camera. So without further ado, I'm not going to waste much time here, and you can see the box is really big. It's pre-opened, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove the contents. Now this camera has some interesting features. It's got a 24 megapixel APS-C size sensor. So I'll continue talking about the specs as I go along. The first thing in the box is the documentation. So you have the instruction manual over here. You have AVC HD movie guide, and then you have a booklet for lenses and accessories, and that's about it. If I go in further now, I get a battery charger, which is over here. So nice style battery charger for the camera. And let's go in a little further. What do we have? We have the cord for the battery charger and another cord, which is the USB to mini USB data cord. So I have a USB to mini USB data cord. I'm going to put that aside. Let's pull out the main thing inside the box over here, and that is the camera. You of course get the camera, and you get a Alpha 77 neckband or carry strap, or whatever you may like to call it. It does have Sony branding over here. It does have these leather bits at the end, and this part appears to be leather on the inside or the inside of the belt or the strap. The upper part appears to be nylon. So fairly high quality camera strap, as you may find on any higher end or semi higher end, semi-professional camera. Now let's take a closer look at the camera itself. The body of the camera has a magnesium alloy full weather sealed design. It's fairly heavy and is very well built. If we talk about the insides or the hardware on the inside, we've got a 24 megapixel APS-C size sensor, tiltable vari-angle LCD at the back. So it's got 3 hinges, so you can tilt it like this, you can bring it up like this, you can fold it up, do tons of things. You can turn it around and bring it up like this, and you can just play around with it in whatever direction you want. So you have a very high resolution LCD over here. You also have a OLED viewfinder, which is actually pretty high resolution as well. If you see over here, it's got a translucent mirror that allows 1/3 of the light to bounce up from here into the viewfinder, and it continually sends light inside to the sensor. That's why the autofocus on this camera is supposed to be absolutely brilliant. It's got 11 cross 19 point autofocus system, and it also does about 12 frames per second shooting. Let's see if it's got any battery charge in it. So let's take it for a ride. So it's possibly the fastest shooting capabilities that you have on a SLR of this price value. Now again, like I said, it has a magnesium alloy body. Let's take a look at the top of the camera over here. You have a conveniently placed jog dial over here, and you have the on and off switch. You have the ISO button for ISO adjustments. You have the exposure value compensation button over here, white balance settings, and shooting mode selection. So timer, shooting, high speed, burst, etc. You can also quickly switch from finder or LCD for your display. If you would like to shift from finder to LCD, you have a quick button. The camera also has a sensor over here that turns on the LCD, turns off the LCD, and switches to the OLED viewfinder over here. As you can see, as soon as I bring my hand in front of the viewfinder, the LCD turns off, and or vice versa. Again, you can see the details on the LCD over here. So you have a display LCD over here, a detailed LCD with backlighting, and over here you have the microphone for in-video audio capture, and you have a very robust mode selection dial over here. So it lets you select from various modes: 3D shooting modes, scene modes, auto plus, programmed auto, aperture settings, shutter speed settings, full manual shooting. All those kind of settings are over here. Now let's take a look at the back of the camera. You do have a mount over here. It's not a standard hot shoe. It is a Sony proprietary mount that is on top of the SLT A77. So let's look at the back over here. You have tons and tons of buttons on the back of this camera. First of all, you have the menu button on the top left over here. You have the OLED XGA viewfinder at the back with a proximity sensor, which you can see is hypersensitive, but people have complained about the fact that it takes about a second or two for it to react, and people miss their shots because it doesn't react fast enough. Well, you do have a button that conveniently turns off the LCD and turns on the viewfinder, so you can use the button in that scenario. So I don't really find a reason for that, but when I do review this camera, I will keep that in mind. So you have a dedicated movie shooting mode button over here. So if you're in a different mode apart from movie mode and you conveniently need to click or start recording video, you can just press on the movie button. Again, you have autofocus, manual focus selection button, aperture lock, exposure lock over here. It's a 5-way joystick for navigating through menus. Very easy navigation indeed. You have a quick function button, a display button that lets you quickly select what you want to show on your display. You also have a meter that allows you to check your balance while clicking images. You can also jump into full screen, so raw images settings. You can go into preview by using the play button, and you have a help button which is also a trash button. Again, you have another jog for a selection of various things over here, so another jog dial. Over here is the SDXC, SDHC card slot. It also takes Sony memory stick duo magic gate cards. If you look at the front over here, you have a couple of sensors, so a remote mount over here, the auto-focusing light is over here, and if you open this up, you can see the 24 megapixel camera sensor. You can actually see the mirror, which is a SLT or a translucent mirror, and you can see the sensor through there as well a little bit, or it's a reflection of the top. I don't know what's going on, but I think I can see a bit of the sensor on the inside. You do have a dial over here which lets you select from various focus options, which is conveniently located on the bottom left of the front over here. This button is to release the lens. If you look at the left, this is where most of the things are happening. So you have a remote port over here, so it lets you add a remote, a Sony proprietary remote. You also can see that this camera has a GPS built in, so it will do geotagging of your images. You do have a DC in, so it will possibly charge the camera with the battery in there. That charger does not come with the device, so you possibly need to buy this separately. You do have an HDMI out, which is a mini HDMI out, and you do have a mini USB port, and then you have a microphone port, which is over here, standard 3.5 millimeter microphone port. On the bottom over here, you will see that the camera has a tripod mount, and if I remove this, you'll be able to look at the battery, which is a info-lithium battery. So if we look at the details, it's a 1600 milliamp hour battery, so that's a fairly large battery for the camera. Now that's a quick look at the overview of the SLT A77. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly unbox the DT16, that's actually 16 to 105 millimeter f3.5 to 5.6 lens. Now, funny thing about this lens is that most companies, when they give an expensive lens like this, and this lens is about 35,000 rupees, so most companies give a bag to carry the lens. Sony does not do that. To buy a bag, it's optional. You can optionally buy a bag, but it does not come with the lens, which is quite surprising from a company like Sony. Now, this lens needs to be bought separately, so that makes the price of the camera bundle about a lakh of rupees. It actually more than a lakh of rupees. It makes it about a lakh 5,000 rupees. So this is the lens. It is very heavy. It's about a kilogram right here. It's possibly more than a kilogram in my hand right now. It's a very, very heavy lens. So it's completely metal made and has very heavy glass. All these parts are, none of them are plastic. This is all metal. So very, very solid lens. The rings over here seem to be very noisy. I have taken off all removable parts, but still there is a lot of rattle in the lens, and it seems to be a very noisy sort of lens. Not the kind of quality that I would expect from Sony or their A-mount lenses, or maybe this lens has been through a lot. I'm not too sure, but the kind of lenses that I've usually used from Sony, they are pretty high quality, and they're not the kinds that would rattle. So this is the focus ring over here, and you have the zoom ring that goes all the way from 16 to 105 millimeter. So it is a 62 mm mount. So if you need a UV filter, you will need a 62 mm mount. So let's quickly mount this on the camera. So I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it does do about 12 frames per second. Funnily enough, to focus using autofocus, you need to press on this button for it to focus, which is quite strange. It doesn't focus when I'm half pressing the camera shutter button. So maybe it's a different style of focus on this, but you can see the camera becomes a really large size camera. I do have my 650D over here for a quick comparison. The body of the camera is definitely heavier, and I've got a battery grip over here, and despite that the 77 is much heavier when it comes to weight. This is one of the best cameras that you can buy in this price range. It does have very nice full HD video recording capabilities. Right out of the box, it's got excellent image stabilization. Like I said, it's got a magnesium alloy body, so it is completely weather sealed. It's got ISO sensitivity up to 16,000, so ISO 100 to about ISO 16,000. It's got 1/8,000 maximum shutter speed, which is phenomenal. And something which Sony is really proud of is the fact that this has a steady shot inside, which does mean that the sensor does the image stabilization, so that makes the lenses cheaper. So you don't have any sort of image stabilization inbuilt into the lens, because you have that inbuilt into the body of the camera, and it's actually pretty good. Focus on the camera is pretty good even in video, and we're pretty impressed with this camera. With the initial hands-on, I have been playing around with the A77 before we actually got this particular unit, so I am pretty impressed with this camera, and I'll be coming out with a full review of this right after I'm done with the 650D. So as soon as I'm done reviewing the 650D, I'll come out with a full review of the Alpha 77 SLT from Sony. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions or queries regarding this camera, please do leave them in the comment section below, or on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, so that I can cover them up in the full review. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/iGyaan, youtube.com/iGyaan TV. For iGyaan Networks, this has been Bharat Nagpal. Thank you guys for watching.